back again. This is another story. This one is about elves and the shoemaker. The shoemaker, the man makes the shoes that you put on your feet. Once upon a time, a shoemaker lived with his wife above the workshop. The shoemaker was a good man, and he worked hard, but he was very poor. The day came when he had only enough leather to make one pair of shoes. He cut out the leather and left it on his workbench. "I will be able to make a better pair of shoes after a good night's sleep," he told his wife as they went upstairs. There's the shoemaker sitting at his workbench, and there's the shoes. He's making the shoes. He's got scissors there to cut out the leather. So off they went upstairs to bed. The next morning the shoemaker went downstairs. What a surprise he had! On his workbench, where the leather had been, was a brand new pair of shoes. They were neatly and perfectly made, with not a stitch out of place. "These shoes are masterpieces," the shoemaker exclaimed to his wife. He put them in the window, hoping someone would come and buy them. Sure enough, a finely dressed young man soon entered his workshop to try on the shoes. They fit him perfectly, and the man was happily paid a high price for them. With the money, the shoemaker was able to buy enough leather to make 2 new pairs of shoes. By the time he returned to his shop, he was tired, so he cut the leather out and left it on his workbench and went upstairs to bed. Here we go. That's him off upstairs to bed. And that's him putting the shoes in the window. So what do you think would happen now? They have a good night's sleep and they come back downstairs again. And in the morning, the shoemaker had another surprise. There on the workbench were 2 new pairs of shoes. Look, see them there? A pair of boots and a pair of shoes. The shoemaker put them in the window, and before lunchtime he had sold both pairs of shoes for a very good price. Now he had enough money to buy leather to make 4 pairs of shoes. Once again he cut out the leather, left it on his workbench and went upstairs to bed. And once again he came down the next morning to find beautiful shoes all made up and perfectly stitched. There they go. And look at them all here. Gosh, what a lot of shoes. The same thing happened every day for weeks. The shoes appeared as though by magic. "Let's try and find out who's been making them tonight," said his wife. So that night the shoemaker left some leather all cut out and ready to sew on his workbench as usual. Then, instead of going to bed, he and his wife hid behind a curtain at the back of the shop. There they waited and waited and waited. That's them, see? Waiting to see who'd made the shoes. The shoemaker and his wife were just about to go to bed when, at the stroke of midnight, the shop door opened and in danced 2 tiny elves. They skipped up to the workbench and quickly began sewing the leather into fine new shoes. As they worked, they sang, "We will sew and we will stitch to help the shoemaker grow rich." Soon the shoes were finished and the little elves leapt off the workbench and danced out of the shop. "Those kind elves have helped us," said the shoemaker. "We must repay them." "Did you see how thin their clothes were?" his wife asked. "And their little feet were bare. Those poor little men must be freezing." "Let's make them some warm clothes for the elves to show how grateful we are," said the shoemaker. See, there's the shoemaker, there's the elves. Where are we? There's the elves there, stitching the shoes. Look how tiny they are, and look at their bare feet. So, what happens next? There we go. There we go. The next day, the shoemaker's wife knitted 2 cosy woolen jackets, 2 tiny scarves, and 2 pairs of warm trousers. The shoemaker used his finest leather to make 2 little pairs of boots. See? Making clothes for the elves. And there's the 2 little tiny pairs of boots he's making. See? Tiny little boots. That night, instead of leaving the leather on the workbench, the shoemaker left the clothes, all wrapped up in shiny paper and ribbons. Then he and his wife hid behind the curtain to wait. At the stroke of midnight, the shop door opened and in came the elves. They hopped up to the workbench and saw the presents that had been left for them. They opened the parcels at once, and in the twinkling of an eye they had dressed in their brand new clothes. They knew the presents were the shoemaker's way of saying thank you, and they did a happy dance together singing, "Now the shoemaker's grown rich, there's no need to sew and stitch." Then they hopped off the workbench and scurried out of the door. The shoemaker and his wife never saw the little elves again, but their troubles were over, and they had a good and happy life together for many long years. Is that a good story? Okay, that's the last one for a wee while. Night night.